everyone, and welcome to another working session webinar and live Q&A. If you've been with us before, we're happy to have you back. If this is the first webinar you're attending, welcome. We're happy you are here. So we're here because the SBA has announced a $28.6 billion Restaurant Revitalization Fund. We're going to fill out the application together. This webinar is brought to you by Becoming Self Made and Nely Galan, and powered by the Adelante Movement nonprofit and the Women's Conference of Florida. So thank you very much to our partners. We have a very special guest with us today, as well as our SBA expert and spokesperson, Victoria Guerrero, who has always been great. If you're joining us from Facebook Live, I want to give you a big welcome as well. And I just want to go over some housekeeping rules. We're going to be utilizing the Q&A section to answer all of your questions, so please don't use the chat box. And if you're joining us from Facebook, feel free to leave your questions in the comments below. We'll be making sure we get to those as well. And if you are registered for this webinar is being recorded, and we will make sure to get a copy to everyone that is registered in the next coming days. With that, I want to welcome our host, Nely Galan. Nely is an Emmy award-winning media entrepreneur, the New York Times bestselling author of the book Self Made, Becoming Empowered, Self-Reliant, and Rich in Every Way, and founder of the Adelante Movement. Nely, take it away.
Hello, everybody. So happy to be here with all of you again. What a year we've been through, but things are getting better every day. And I am so excited to be in this webinar because our government is putting out $28.6 billion for some of our small business owners who need so much help, the restaurant industry. And I am so thrilled that we have such a special guest with us, the new administrator of the SBA, who is a friend, someone I worked with all last year in California on the governor's task force. She is someone who comes from a small business family. She's run her own small business herself. I know better than anyone how committed and devoted she is to making sure that all our small businesses come back, especially our restaurants. This is a very exciting program, and I am so happy that she's here with us now. Madam Administrator, so happy to be with you again, and so happy to share this moment with you. Tell us about this incredible program that you're bringing to us right now.
Thank you, Nely. Oh, it's so good to be with you. It feels like coming home, welcoming me to this session and the Adelante Movement and Self Made Movement. You know, you've been such a good friend and such an advocate for small businesses and entrepreneurship too. So of course, I'm partnering with you again in California and now federally. So thank you so much. You know, I think that what's most important here is that we know that women of color entrepreneurs, so many of the different small business owners that you reach out to are such an important force in our economy and could achieve so much more as well with pathways to opportunity. And I know that's what you're about, and what I'm about is making sure that our women and that our diverse entrepreneurs have the tools they need to start, grow, and really soar in our economy. So I'm particularly proud to roll out this particular program, the Restaurant Revitalization Fund program. And I do want all of our incredible and diverse food and beverage entrepreneurs listening out there today to know that the SBA is here to help you recover and rebuild from this pandemic. With this Restaurant Revitalization Fund, which of course it's going to be an acronym, but we're calling it RRF since it's so long. Help is here, la ayuda está aquí. The American Rescue Plan was passed by Congress and signed into law by President Biden just last month. And now we've moved really quickly because we know that you need this help. And we're ready to start giving out that $28.6 billion. And that's in grants, not loans, to restaurants and other food and beverage businesses. We're defining it broadly. So this is food trucks, food carts, caterers, breweries, tap rooms, such a long list that we'll go over in detail. And the most important thing is that you can register today and start getting ready to apply on Monday, noon Eastern time, Monday, May 3rd. So that's one of the most important messages. You know, I want the SBA to be as entrepreneurial as the small businesses we serve. And all year long, you've been pivoting and adapting. And we want to do the same. We've designed the RRF application and process with restaurants and food and beverage businesses in mind, especially paying attention to the reality that you've faced over the past year, how your business has changed, how you're running it in this new marketplace. So for example, businesses have adopted technology at really high rates during the pandemic. I think it's a silver lining because now we have these great tools to better operationalize our businesses. But we're not only offering our direct application at sba.gov/restaurants or restaurantes in both English and Spanish and translated in 17 other languages, but we're also partnering directly in the marketplace with point of sale vendors. So you can apply or get help out there where you're already doing business with the POS vendors. Right now, we're partnering already with Clover, Aloha, Square, and Toast, and we'll be adding more partners. You can go in and apply directly, or they'll connect you, but either way, they're helping you with some of the data that you might need. We know we have to focus on simplifying the process and helping you navigate government. And the application, we've tried to implement ready-made tools that allow you to hover and get guidance on the different application options. We've estimated that it'll take 25 minutes if you come prepared. So that's why being a part of this webinar today was so important, because you have to have your data ready to go. And since this is a first come, first serve program, you have to be ready. So glad you're here to walk through it in detail with the SBA team and Nely Galan. We know that our smallest and underserved businesses, especially those owned by people of color, have suffered the most from the pandemic, and yet have oftentimes been the ones unable to access relief. Congress recognized this, and they inserted language in the American Rescue Plan that mandated a 21-day priority period for restaurants, food and beverage businesses owned by women, veterans, and socially or economically disadvantaged people. So as all of those entrepreneurs out there, those female entrepreneurs and those diverse founders, that means you will be given a priority period of time, starting May 3rd all the way through May 24th. Everyone can apply on day one, but as SBA processes these, as everyone's in line, we will look first at those priority individuals. In addition, Congress also allocated special funding for set-asides for smaller firms. So they allocated $5 billion, and we added another $4.5 billion. That means $9.5 billion of the $28.6 billion is in set-asides for those firms with smaller revenues. And so in addition to that, we know that that's part of the equity agenda that the Biden-Harris administration is prioritizing, really a vision that I'm committed to at SBA, because all of our small businesses need to be supported and given opportunities to succeed if our nation's economy is going to recover. So we know it's not just the design, though. We're really proud of the design and hope that you will be able to access it easily. But in addition, it's this outreach, it's this implementation. So all week long, we've been doing these webinars. There's information at sba.gov. We're committed to bringing this customer-first approach, technology-driven, equitable system to all our programs at the SBA, so businesses can recover, start, grow, and build resilience. And it's going to be through partners and champions like Nely Galan and the Adelante Movement, who will really connect us to you all. I take my role really serious as the voice of small businesses. America's 30 million small businesses. And I think it's just because I want you to feel like the giants you are in our economy. So thank you, Nely. Adelante.
Madam Administrator, thank you so much. And we're going to help everybody fill out the forms because I know it's tough. We're going to do it with you because we want you to do it quickly, right?
Yes, apply.
Get in there and use that window that you've been given, a priority window, so you can bring your businesses back. Thank you so much, Madam Administrator. We're going to do many more of these this year. So thank you and congratulations to you. We're very, very proud of you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay. Victoria Herrero, who's also the SBA spokesperson and who's been with me all year. We've been doing this. She is, to me, a frontline worker. She has been there for all of you this year with the PPP and the EIDL. Welcome, Victoria. So happy to have you back. And I know you're here with some colleagues because we want to answer all your questions. The administrator said it so beautifully, but now we want to get deep into the woods and figure out how to do this, right?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Nelly, for having me here with you today. It's always a pleasure. We absolutely are going to walk you guys through the application. There's a lot of information, so be ready. I want to introduce my colleagues, Nicola Montaña and Ana Maria Lucas. They are behind the scenes. They are our SMEs. They are going to be answering all of your questions. So remember to put your questions in the question box, and they will be responding throughout this whole session. So if you'd like, I can start sharing my screen, Nelly. We can kick it off.
Let's go.
Let's do it. All right.
I'm ready for you.
Okay. So let me share this. Let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, perfect. So let's get started. All right. So today's agenda, we're going to talk about what is RRF, what's the eligibility, our priority groups. We're going to review the application, and we're going to talk about documents needed and how you can use your funds. So be prepared to take notes. The Restaurant Revitalization Fund, as we lovingly call it, RRF, was a program that was brought to us by the American Rescue Plan Act, or as we call ARPA, when it became law on March 11th, 2021, and it established the RRF. ARPA appropriated $28.6 billion for RRF, authorizing SBA to award the funds. So this program is managed through SBA, not through our banks. So you will actually, when you apply, you'll be applying through SBA. Now, the appropriations remain available until it's expended. Funds must be used for eligible expenses no later than March 11th, 2023. And SBA may provide funding up to $5 million per location, not to exceed $10 million total for yours and any affiliated businesses that you may have. The minimum award would be $1,000.
So wow, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money, you guys. So all of you that lost so much money, this is a gift because you don't have to pay this back. So, I mean, it's amazing.
Absolutely. It's a wonderful program that was brought to our restaurant owners and those that are in the food and beverage industry. So let's talk about eligibility. These are the eligible types of organizations. So if you're C Corp, an S Corp, a partnership, an LLC, sole proprietors can apply, self-employed individuals can apply, tribal businesses and LLCs that are taxed as S Corps or sole proprietor. Now, keep in mind, if you are a B corporation, you are eligible, but you will need to select either C Corp or S Corp on the application, depending on how you're going to be taxed. So you want to check with your accountant or your CPA on that. Also, remember to always refer to your tax return to see if you're self-employed versus a sole proprietor distinction. That will be written on your tax return.
So for instance, just so that I understand, if you're someone that has like a food stand, you're self-employed, you can do this.
Absolutely. This is,
oh, look, here it is.
Exactly. So we also made this slide because we know a lot of people have questions, right? So these are the eligible entities. If you're a restaurant, food stands, food truck, food carts. If you're in the catering business, if you're bars, if you're a saloon, a lounge, a tavern, if you have snack and non-alcoholic beverage bars, such as coffee shops, ice cream shops can also be eligible. If you're licensed facilities or premises of a beverage alcohol producer where the public may taste, sample, or purchase products, you are eligible. Other similar places of business in which the public or patrons assemble for the primary purpose of being served food or drink. If you fall into any of these categories, you are eligible. I also want to note, Nelly, on the opposite side here, on the right side of the screen, the entities below must have on-site sales of food or beverage to the public that comprise at least 33% of their gross receipts. So that rule applies only to bakeries, breweries, or microbreweries, wineries and distilleries, and inns. So you want to keep that in mind because a little bit later on, we're going to talk a little bit more about what that means and what type of documentations you would need to provide to show us that you have at least 33% of gross receipts in food and beverage sales to the public.
Got it.
Okay. So now let's talk about who is not eligible. If you are a state or local government operated business, you're not eligible. As of March 13, 2020, if you own or operates together with any affiliated business more than 20 locations, regardless of whether those locations do business under the same name or under different names or in different industries, you will not be eligible. If you have a pending application for, or you have received a shuttered venue operators grant, you will not be eligible. If you're a publicly traded company, if you're permanently closed, if you're a nonprofit organization, you will not be eligible. And it's not eligible for funding of even at least $1,000. Now, a lot of people ask me, well, what if I'm in bankruptcy? Am I eligible? Am I not eligible? So we put this slide together to help you guys. So if you are operating under an approved plan of reorganization under either a Chapter 11, Chapter 12, or Chapter 13 bankruptcy, and you meet all program requirements, then you are available. Now, if you temporarily... Yeah, it's wonderful news for those that are, approved and they are working within the plan of reorganization that they have. Wow. Now, if you remember during the pandemic, some states mandated for businesses to close. If you temporarily closed your doors due to state or local restrictions or any other pandemic causes, but you are still in operation or you have reopened, you are still eligible to apply. So folks that are not eligible, if you're going through bankruptcy, you will not be eligible if you permanently closed, if you filed a Chapter 7 liquidation bankruptcy, or filed either for a Chapter 7, Chapter 11, 12, and 13 bankruptcy, but are not under any approved plan of organization. If you fall into any of those three categories, you are not eligible to apply for the RRF. Now, folks often ask me, well, what if I have a PPP loan? Can I apply? How does that work? Wanted to go through this chart real quick. So if you are an RRF recipient and you also have a PPP loans received by you will affect your funding calculation. So whatever you received in your PPP loan amount, it's going to be deducted from what you would be receiving in your RRF total amount. So we want to keep that in mind. Now, if you applied for shuttered venues, entities that have a pending application or received RRF and they're not eligible to apply for shuttered venue. So you got to do one or the other, your shuttered venue operators grant or the RRF program. You can't do both. Now, if you also received EIDL, you can use EIDL and you can use RRF. You can apply for both. There is no problem there. And of course, for our RRF folks, the same business cannot apply for RRF more than twice. So you only want to apply one time for this particular program. Something I did want to note here is you do not need to be registered in SAM.gov. SBA, we are not going to require a DUNS or CAGE identifier, so you don't have to worry about that. Also, if you have valid but unexpired ITINs, they are acceptable. You can apply. And I just put these links here in case you guys want to take a photo of it. There's more information in those websites for you.
Yeah. Wow.
Lots of information, I know.
Yeah, well, and it's important to see that you have to subtract some things if you got that money.
Exactly. And we'll go through that in the application in just a moment. So what happens if I have a PPP loan or an SVO grant? Well, as mentioned, PPP funds will be subtracted from your final funding amount. You will be verified using EIN, ITIN, or your social security number. And you need to make sure that the information that you put on your RRF application is the same as in your PPP application. So if you received a PPP loan, you must use the same EIN number for your RRF application that you use on your PPP application. You want to make sure everything is consistent so there's no hiccups in your application or in your processing. If you apply for PPP loans using different EINs, you must provide all the EINs that you utilized. When you apply for RRF, you must withdraw any outstanding PPP amount from the application that you have. And of course, as we mentioned, if for SVOG, our Shuttered Venue Operators Grant, you cannot have a pending application for or have received the SVOG grant and apply for RRF. So please keep that in mind. So now let's talk about priority groups. Nely, this was a wonderful thing that they included in this program to make sure that we get the funding to all of our small businesses out there. So for priority groups, within the first 21 days, the only applications from businesses that are owned by women, veterans, and socially and economically disadvantaged applicants will be funded during this period. So from days 1 to 21, we will only be processing those applications that belong to those category of people. Now on day 22, all other eligible applications will be processed and everything will be funded until the funds are exhausted. Now, if some of you are wondering, what does economically disadvantaged mean or socially disadvantaged mean? We're going to go through that in just a second. So here are the definitions of a priority group. A business that is at least 51% owned and managed and have daily operations are controlled by one or more individuals who are women, veterans, socially and economically disadvantaged. Now, you must self-certify this on your application to meet the eligibility requirements. Now, socially.
Can I ask you a question? Because there's one thing that's confusing to me. So if I'm self-employed and I'm, let's say, a waitress, I don't own the restaurant. Can I apply for this? Or is it just if I own the restaurant, if I own the cart, if I own the catering company?
That's a wonderful question. This is only for folks that own these individual entities.
Okay.
Okay. So let's talk about socially disadvantaged individuals. What does this mean, right? Well, these are folks that have been subjected to racial, ethnic prejudice or cultural bias because of their identity as a member or a group without regard to their individual qualities. So the other category here is economically disadvantaged individuals. Now, these are those that are socially disadvantaged, what we just read up above, whose ability to compete in the free market, in our business community, has been impaired due to diminished capital and credit opportunities as compared to others in the same business area who are not socially disadvantaged. So that's the definition between the two. If you fall into any of these, then you can go ahead and we will process your application during those first 21 days that the portal is open. Very important, Nelly, and for all of you guys listening, you will be automatically disqualified if you reorganize your business for purposes of qualification for the priority period. We want to put this out there just so
you
folks
can't lie. You can't say that you're something you're not just to get the money. I get it.
Just you want to make sure folks understand that, because you will be automatically disqualified from the program if you attempt to do this. So now we can fill out the application. Let me just pop over to our website. So I am going to stop sharing here.
Can I interrupt and chime in and ask a question? What if I own a restaurant and I'm a Latina and my partner is Caucasian? Does that affect
Even I know the answer to that. You have to be 51% owner, right, Victoria?
That's correct. Yes.
So, and you can't, and if you're not, you can't fudge it at the last minute to get the money.
I have a feeling that question
so all of you out there, that you should have a minority partner that's 51% owner. That's a good lesson. So no, I think that's the answer, right, Victoria? Did I get that right?
Yep, you got that perfectly right. You have to be at least 51% owner in order to qualify. All right, so do you guys see my screen?
Now, by the way, Jen, let's say they weren't 51% owner. You could go in, but you have to go in at the second period, right, Victoria?
After the 21 days.
After the 21 days, right?
Well, remember, everyone can start applying as of day 1. You don't have to wait to day 22 to apply. Everyone can start applying as of day 1. The SBA will start processing those priority groups within the first 21 days. On day 22, we're going to start processing everybody else who has already applied. So I don't want folks out there to wait to the day 22 to apply. Everybody can apply from day 1.
Oh, that's good to know. I mean, because I think what you're also saying is that there's only so much money. So when you run out of money, you run out of money, right? So that's why you're putting it in these buckets so people get a little bit of an advantage. So don't wait, people. Don't wait. Put in your application, because once they go, the money will be gone.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So this question has come up. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Victoria, before we jump into this. Some people have asked if they use POSs like Square, that they don't need to register. I know registration opened up today. Can you clarify that?
Yeah, I will actually have Ana Maria clarify that. She's one of our SMEs. Ana Maria, if you can unmute yourself.
Hi, everybody. Yes, I'll drop into the chat. There's 2 POS systems that we're working with directly who can help you with the application, and the rest. And for those, you do not have to register in advance if you're using those POS systems. For the rest of them, the POS system is just going to be used to verify your gross receipts, and that SBA will be able to identify that as a legitimate way of showing your gross receipts from 2019 and 2020. But you will still have to then go into the portal and register yourself unless you belong to one of those 2 POS programs. And I'll drop those 2 into the chat.
Perfect. Thank you so much. All right. So can we jump into the application?
Yes, let's look at it.
Okay, lovely. You guys see my screen, right?
Yeah, we see it.
Okay, lovely. So first and foremost, I don't want folks to be scared. There's a lot of pages in here, but it's pretty simple to complete. So the first page is just information about the application and the program. The second page, if y'all remember, a lot of the same information that was asked for PPP is being asked here. So your business legal name, your doing business as or DBA name, your address, your tax ID number.
This is easy, guys. This is really easy.
All your banking information. If you have to list all owners that have 20% or more of equity in your business. You got to list them in here. And one thing I want to note is make sure that you complete everything and it's accurate, because once you submit it, SBA cannot make any changes for you. And then if you need to go back and you made an error, you need to change it, it's going to delay your processing. So
I think we've been through this a lot this year already, because we're now a little more familiar. So let's try to be as accurate as possible, because this time they're on a time crunch. So there's no time to be going back and forth.
Absolutely. That's a good point, Nelly. So here, the next page, you just got to put what type of corporation you are or business entity you are. You need to answer these questions on this section. It's very self-explanatory. Which of the following best describes your business?
This is easier than the PPP so far.
Yes, super simple. Is this your application, did your business permanently close? Yes or no? Are you currently in bankruptcy? You will check the one that you are in. So again, a lot of this information is super, super simple. There's no calculations yet. We will be getting that to in a second here. I just kind of wanted to show you the questions that you will be asked. And again, this form can be found on our website, sba.gov/restaurants. You'll have all the details about the program. You have a program guide that will help you, and you have this form. This is a sample application form. You can utilize this to help you prepare for when you do.
We should be printing this, writing it in now, so that when you do it online, you're not like, oh my God, I'm stuck and I forgot and blah, blah, blah. Let's, because Monday you got to go. So I suggest we do, this is like filling out a college application on a weekend. You got to do it first, get it ready. And that way we're not stressed out when you're actually doing it online.
You're absolutely right, Nelly. Now, you have 3 different types of scenarios. Each scenario has a different calculation. Now, I'm not going to go through this chart because I know it could be a little bit overwhelming, but I was able to break down the calculation on my PowerPoint. So I'm going to show you that in a second. But if you do want to use this chart, it's just step by step. You read what it says and you answer what we have there. And at the end, it's going to walk you through it. And at the end, it's going to tell you what your total amount is to request. So this is basically the second scenario here. And again, I'm going to go through this on our PowerPoint because it will
because I really need a lot of understanding of this. This is already giving me a stomach ache. So I know it's a lot of adding and subtracting, so it's not that bad. But when I see a bunch of blocks, I get a little bit scared. So you're going to show me, right?
Absolutely. Well, we're going to do that. I just wanted to show you the end of the application here. So after you do your calculation, you'll just need to select any of these that apply. This talks about how you're going to use the funding. These are the eligible expenses that you can utilize them for.
Wait, stop a second, because I want to make sure we don't PPP this again. Where it's like you have to spend a percentage in something and a percentage in something else. Are these just all eligible under the 100%, or are we going to have to learn percentages of each?
No, you don't have to worry about anything percentage-wise. You can just choose how you're planning to utilize your funds.
So I could say all of them if I wanted to.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're going to use them that way, you can choose on all of them. That's absolutely right.
Okay. Oh, look, construction of outdoor seating, all the money people spent.
Mm-hmm.
So
business supplies, covered supply costs, any business operating expense can be utilized. And then again, you just need to finish, filling this out. You are going to have to provide documentation, as proof that you're going to be utilizing it in those manners. It gives you a list of the acceptable documentation on here. We're going to go through this in my PowerPoint, but all of the information is in this application. Then you just self-certify. You self-certify that you understand all of these paragraphs. And then at the end, you will just sign it. This is applicant demographic information. It's optional, but we do encourage you to complete it if you'd like. And then that's it. You sign it, you date it, and you're done. So
And
you can
supposedly it takes 20 minutes, right, to fill this out?
25 minutes if you have all of your documentation and all your information ready. You know your numbers. This is why it's so important to know your numbers when you're a business owner. It would only take you about 25 minutes to fill that out. And what I showed you, remember, it was just a sample application. So you can use that as your guide.
So you guys print this thing out, and then whatever forms you need, go find them. Again, before you do the online thing, get all your ducks in a row. And let's go over the calculations, because that's the only thing that kind of gave me a stomach ache. So I want to make sure that we go over it together.
Absolutely. Let me share my screen, and I promise this will be much easier to digest.
Okay.
So I am on here. Let me know when you see my screen.
We see it.
Okay, perfect. So again, there's 3 different scenarios. You got to choose which scenario you belong to and then follow the calculation. So this is the first scenario. If you're in operation prior to or on January 1st, 2019, you're going to use this formula below. 2019 gross receipts minus 2020 gross receipts minus PPP loan amounts if you received PPP loan amounts from both first draw and second draw. That's going to equal your total amount that you're going to put on your application.
Okay,
So
wait, I'm a little confused. So if I have a restaurant, I made $100,000 in gross receipts in 2019. And I made 20,000 in 2020. So it's 100 minus 20.
Mhm.
And let's say I got 40 for the PPP loan. I don't know, I got 20, another 20. So I'm now saying 100 minus 40 equals 60. So it's my loss amount. It's what I didn't make.
Correct.
So what if I had 100 in 2020, 100 minus 100? So it's only if I've experienced loss, is what you're saying.
Exactly. This program is designated, it's created to help restaurant owners recoup what their losses were because of the pandemic.
Got it. Okay. That makes it easy. So a lot of what we saw on the paper, you're explaining it here in color. It's this minus this, and this is only if my restaurant was up and running before January 1st, on or before January 1st, 2019.
Correct. Yes. So we have 2 other scenarios. If you don't fall into scenario, don't worry, because we have 2 more. So scenario number 2 is if you began operation partially through 2019. So halfway through 2019 or quarter way through 2019, you started operating. You're going to use the calculation below. You're going to have to average your 2019 monthly gross receipts. So first you got to average that, multiply that by 12, minus your 2020 gross receipts, minus any PPP loan amounts. And that's going to give you your total amount for the application.
Okay, so I get that. So just everybody, you're basically figuring out what your monthly would have been if you ran the whole year.
Exactly.
And minus your 2020 gross receipts. I get it. So this is very, I like this. This is very easy to understand. You guys might want to take pictures of these. So when we fill out the forms, you can go back to this, because this is so easy to understand.
Absolutely.
Go back to fill out the form.
That's a wonderful
idea. You know
idea.
what, Victoria, can we go back to the one before so they can take a picture of that?
Sure.
That's really easy. So this is scenario 1, take a picture. Okay, then let's go back to scenario 2. Okay, because this really makes it very understandable. It's good that you did it in color. That was good. Okay, and then we have scenario 3.
Yep. And I just want to note, if you are in operations partially in 2019, you can choose either this calculation, the scenario 2, or the next one that I'm going to show you. But if you choose this calculation, your processing times may take a little bit longer. Okay. So I just want to say that. So if you began operations on or between January 1, 2020 and March 10, 2021, okay, and have not yet opened, but have already incurred eligible expenses as of March 11, 2021, you're going to use this calculation below.
So this is if I began a business and then the pandemic hit and I really couldn't open. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
Okay.
But you have already incurred eligible expenses. So you want to add all of your eligible expenses from February 15, 2020 to March 11, 2021. Okay, so first you got to add that. Once you do that, you need to deduct the 2020 gross receipts. You need to subtract it.
And if you had none, because you didn't open, then it's 0.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
And then you're going to have to continue deducting. So you're going to subtract 2021 gross receipts through March 11, 2021, and subtract any PPP loans that you received. And then that's going to give you what your total loan amount is going to be.
Okay, so it's possible under this scenario that I have, let's say I have 50,000 in expenses. I made no money in 2020. I made no money in 2021, and I got a PP loan for 20,000, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
So it's 50 minus 20, then I would have, my amount would be 30.
You got it. Yep.
So it is possible that you'd have 0 and 0 in these circles in the middle.
Exactly, because you couldn't open. But you do have eligible business expenses because you were preparing to open.
Okay, this is really great for people that really, a lot of people, I remember when we did the PPP loans, this happened to a lot of people.
Correct. Yep. This is a wonderful program. I think it's going to do very well with our restaurants and folks that are in the food and beverage business. So a lot of folks ask us, well, what can we exclude from 2020 gross receipts? Well, remember, you got to exclude your first draw loan amount for PPP and your second loan draw amount for PPP that you received either in 2020 or 2021. So basically any PPP money that you received, you got to exclude that. SBA Section 1112 payments you have to exclude, SBA Economic Injury Disaster loans, any EIDL advance, targeted EIDL advance, any other grant funds that you receive because of the CARES Act, you need to deduct that. Any state and local business grants that you received, I'm sorry, you need to exclude that, not deduct it. I apologize. You need to exclude that. And if you have received any appropriations from the Randall-Shepard Act financial relief and restoration payments, you have to exclude that as well. So now let's talk about how do I apply? Where do I go? And what do I need? The wonderful thing about this program is that you have 3 ways to apply. You can apply at our website. Now the portal address is different than our website where the information is at. So you want to go to restaurants.sba.gov. You can also do the point of sale vendor, as Ana Maria was speaking to a little bit ago. SBA is continuing to look to partner with more POS vendors, and the list will be provided on our website. Or you can even apply through our telephone system, 844-279-8898. Wow. You can apply through there, or if you have any questions, you can contact them. We have people that speak multiple languages.
That's so great.
Yep. So there's multiple ways that you can apply. You choose what's best for you. So let's talk a little bit about what documents are needed. And again, you might want to take a picture of this, or if you download the application, all this information is in there. So you're going to need your application, which is Form 3172, completely filled, initialed, and signed. You're going to need to provide us verification of tax information. So this is IRS Form 4506T.
Okay, time out, sorry. If you're telling me I can apply on the phone, then how would I send all my stuff in and do all this?
They're going to walk you through all that information once you contact that 844 number.
You're going to basically do the phone thing, but then you're still going to have to send things in.
Yeah, you'll have to provide that information and send it in. That's why applying through the phone typically may take a little bit longer for processing. The quickest way is to go through our portal or go through our POS vendors. Those are the fastest way to apply. So again, I'm not going to go through all the gross receipts documentation because you guys have this on the application and it's on our website at sba.gov/restaurants. But basically, you're going to need to demonstrate your gross receipts and any eligible expenses. So your business tax returns, if you have a partnership, you want to do your Form 1065, including K1s, your bank statements, anything that you can provide that's on this list, we will accept.
So I just want to say to the people that have like cards, or like small business owners, sole proprietors, I know you guys always get confused with these forms, bank statements. Look at that. You can send your bank statements that match what you say. Remember that.
Absolutely. Now, again, if you need help applying, you can call that 844-279-8898 number. You can actually go to your local SBA office or our resource partners. And how do you find who your resource partners are? You go to sba.gov/assistance, put your zip code on there, and you're going to get a list of all the resource partners that are there to help you. These services are free of cost. So they're there. We all speak multiple languages. If you need help, give us a call and we are willing to help you.
Victoria, can we call that hotline starting right now, or is it starting Saturday, or is it starting Monday?
I believe the hotline is opened. Ana Maria, if I'm incorrect, please, let us know.
Yes, it's open 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern time, Monday through Friday. If you call in an off hour, you can leave a message with your phone number and you'll get a call back.
And with our POS partners, is that something we do? I don't know. How do you do that? Is it online? Is it over the phone? What?
Can you walk them through that, Ana Maria? That we do have a lot of questions on POS and how that actually works.
Sure. So I put the direct link in the chat that has the contact information for each of those vendors for the POS systems. Mm-hmm. So again, if you're part of Square or Toast and you use them at your business, you can call them directly or go online with them directly and apply for the RRF through them. If you are not and you use other systems, either Clover, NCR, Oracle, Upserve, Heartland, or any other POS system, you can apply through the SBA portal. But again, those POS systems will be able to provide that documentation for your gross receipts. And that makes the approval process on the SBA side quicker because we know it's coming from a verified third-party vendor.
I got it. Okay, thank you, Ana Maria.
Perfect, thank you. So very important, you must certify that current economic uncertainty makes the funding request necessary to support any ongoing or anticipated operation. So remember the application that we went through, that last page, it has a bunch of different paragraphs and you're initialing this. This is you certifying, and it's your attestation that you are in current economic uncertainty, and because of this you need the funds. So you cannot skip that on the application. Now, just a few things to think about, remember to provide complete documentation, leverage your resources. If you have a CPA or an accountant, you want to, contact them if you do need assistance. Remember, you have our resource partners that are no cost, sba.gov/assistance to get help. And you have the 844 number as well. Make sure that the information is correct when you apply. If you intend to apply for PPP, complete that application before your application to RRF. Remember to do that. And remember, if you have to do any corrections in your application, we cannot make it for you. You're going to have to call the hotline number and work with them because we cannot make corrections on your behalf.
Yeah, it sounds like you have to be really careful this time.
Yes.
Okay, use of funds. Let's see what the story is.
So this is the last section here. A lot of people ask, well, once I have the money, how can I use it? I want to make sure that I use it with eligible business expenses. So payroll cost, including sick leave, utility payments, maintenance expenses, supplies and supplier cost, food and beverage expenses, construction of outdoor seating, payments on any business mortgage obligation and or debt, business operating expenses. This can be insurance, marketing, fees, licenses, anything that's legal, POS equipment, anything that's a business operating expense, you can use the funds for.
Wow, this is great. And so wait a minute. So I am going to have to explain to you how I use the funds, even though it's a grant.
Yes. Remember, the application has that list, and you can check however many it is that you're going to use the funds for to help you continue operating your business. But you don't have to tell us the percentage, so you don't have to worry about it.
What if somebody goes and buys a new restaurant with it? I mean, how do you find that? So are you going to, if somebody does it incorrectly, will they have to pay it back, or how does that work?
Well, we want to make sure that folks understand that the spirit of this legislation is not to purchase more restaurants or to expand. The spirit is really to continue helping business owners operating their current business and keeping those doors open for the public. So you want to make sure that you utilize it in the spirit of the law.
Got it.
Okay, so just a few things to know. The funds must be spent on expenses that were or incurred between February 15, 2020 and March 11, 2023. If the business permanently closes after receiving the funds, the covered period will end when the business permanently closes on March 11th, 2023, whichever one occurs sooner. So if the business permanently closed, the funding is going to end at that moment. Any funds not spent on eligible expenses by the time the cover period ends must be returned to the government.
Wow.
A few other things that you guys need to keep in mind. It's very important for you to keep track of how you're using your funds. There's a use of funds assessment. that you're going to have to fill out. After the total awarded funds have been exhausted, you must provide a detailed expenditure report and certification for that required period. Until you complete the use of funds assessment that we just mentioned, beginning December 2021, you are required to provide self-reported, unaudited data detailing use of distributed funds each year through 2023. So you want to make sure that you have a process of keeping tabs of how you're utilizing your funds. SBA will continue to provide additional guidance that outlines the detailed reporting requirements and procedures in the upcoming weeks. So whole point of this slide here is to make sure you have a process that you're going to be able to keep track of how you're utilizing your expenses, because you are going to have to complete the use of funds assessment at some point, and you are going to have to provide unaudited data detailing how you're utilizing the funds for your expenses.
Yeah, so it's very clear that this is the government helping you get back on your feet, but you have to be like, we all have to be really careful because so many people need this money, that you use it the right way.
I agree, absolutely. So important contact information, you may want to take a photo here. All of the information on our RRF program is at sba.gov/restaurants. We have it in Spanish, sba.gov/restaurantes. If you want to locate your local SBA office or any of the resource partners that we mentioned, sba.gov/assistance. And for any additional information on COVID relief, sba.gov/relief. Another way to stay connected with SBA, join us on Facebook, on Twitter, join our newsletter. And as soon as we have new information and new programs, we'll make sure to stay in contact with you, but you need to reach out and join us and follow us.
Mm-hmm.
And that concludes our webinar. I don't know if we have any questions.
Yes,
Nely?
Jennifer, did you have questions from some of our listeners? And also some people sent us questions in advance for you.
Yes. So one question that came up was, can you do this if you are undocumented?
Well, remember, for this particular program, if you have an ITIN number, you are able to apply. So as long as you have a valid ITIN number, you can apply. You can apply with your EIN number. You can apply with your social security number. But those are the three groups that you are able to apply for this program if you fall within one of those groups.
Okay, and then another question that came up was, what if you are a baker that sells baked goods on Instagram from your house? Are you eligible to apply?
All right, now, Ana Maria, if I'm incorrect, please jump in, but I believe that they need to show that at least 33% of their gross receipts is for public consumption. So I think that's something that they need to keep in mind if they are going to go the route with RRF.
Okay, but if you're doing it from your home, I don't even know how that would work. What do you mean 30? Oh, of your growth. In other words, that they're not making money at something else.
Correct. Yeah.
Got it.
For example, there's a lot of people who don't necessarily have, a food truck or a cart, and they sell from their home, or pop-up shops. Pop-up shops, pop up every once in a while, and we're not able to do that, obviously, during COVID-19.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And I saw Ana Maria get unmuted. So I don't know if you want to jump in.
Sure. Hi. Yeah, I think the thing that we really need is the EIN, the employee identification number, which means that they're a registered business if it's out of their home, if it's out of a food truck or a cart, if it's out of a brick and mortar. It's not important, but I think the EIN is the thing that we need to make sure is an active business.
What I'm hearing you guys say, I think, is if, like, Jen, if you have an Instagram business, but you also drive an Uber, and you also have to, because then when the IRS at the end of the year, it has to look like 33% of it is this side hustle business, at least. Otherwise, you're not eligible. Am I right, you guys?
Yes, absolutely. 33% has to be for public consumption of food or beverage.
And how about, Jen? I mean, one of the things that came up is if you have a real estate company, but you have, or you're whatever, and you have a little coffee shop. Oh, I see. That's another 33% thing, right? Mm-hmm. If the gross revenue if the business is, if the food part is a side hustle, that happens a lot in supermarkets too, right? That they have food. So that wouldn't be eligible unless it was 33%.
Yep, they have to provide documentation showing that a minimum of 33% is for food and beverage consumption to the public. If they don't meet that 33% mark, they will not be eligible. So that's kind of the magic number for those types of entities.
Jen, any other questions?
That makes sense. Let me triple check Facebook. But I think that was it.
Well, you guys,
Yeah,
I mean, you did such a great job of answering everything. And I'm so, first of all, thank you so much, Victoria, because you're so good at this that you make it so easy. Ana Maria, thanks for joining us. We loved having you. And we loved having Nicola too. And the administrator,
Yes.
our Latina Administrator Guzman. It was just so lovely to have her. We worked so well last year together. And so I'm just so happy. I know a lot of people also, we're going to be sending this tape to a lot of people, and we're going to be sending all the information. And para los latinos que están viendo, la semana que viene vamos a hacer un webinar en español. Tantos de ustedes tienen negocios de comida. Queremos que ustedes reciban este dinero, por favor. Okay, so for those of you that have family in the food industry and are Latinos, we're going to do this in Spanish all over again next week. We want you to apply early. You have a 3-week window. The money is going to go. Please, we want your businesses to come back. This is a gift from the heavens and from our government. Thank you so much. Victoria, thank you so much for everything you do. We honor you, and thank you so much for how hard you work. Ana Maria as well. Have a great weekend. Y adelante. We're going to get our money, and we're going to bring all of these restaurants back, okay? We will see you soon. Thank you, Jennifer Guzman, who works with me, and she's so great, works so hard for all of you. Thank you. And here's Jen. Tell them about where to reach us.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and put up this. We have any webinar from the past can be reached on our website, becomingselfmade.com. They're also listed on the adelantemovement.com. We have a ton of incredible webinars. This webinar will also be posted on our website. And again, if you registered for this, you're going to get a recording of it. So feel free to send us an email. I'm going to put our contact info here. info@becomingselfmade.com. If you know somebody who needs to see this so that they can have their application ready to go come Monday, send us an email and we'll be happy to share the recording. And I can't emphasize enough what Nely said. Please apply, especially Nuestra Gente Latina, and we will see you all next week. Thank you.
Thank you.